plan on using in my future endeavors, and specifically my classroom. So when I decided that I needed to do my SCE, which is the Senior Culminating Experience, I decided I wanted to do it on something that I was extremely passionate about, and I chose the beef industry. Today I'm going to talk about a little bit of my research that I did on artificial insemination, patterns of breeding, and the hormone usage in cattle, which is very controversial lately. So, sit back. You're going to find out from the field to the plate. Do you know what it takes? And if you don't, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight of what farmers do in terms of breeding for that juicy steak to get to your plate. So first, the transformation of the beef industry over the last 60 years has had a... You're right, it does go back. The transformation of the beef industry over the last 60 years has had a huge impact on practices by incorporating new technologies such as artificial insemination and the introduction of hormones into usage in cattle, which in turn has increased productivity and efficiency within the industry. But first off, we need to make a note. The market doesn't fluctuate quickly. It's not like gas prices that overnight fluctuates, and we talked about that. Why is beef all of a sudden going up? It's a time-sensitive situation because cattle have to reach 24 months of age before they're slaughtered. So, say the effect of a tragedy, say the South Dakota blizzards that killed all those cows, you may not see those effects for a whole year to come. That's why it's such an interesting science. In addition, the market has changed from a producer-driven market to a consumer-driven one. Consumers are in control of what kind of beef producers are raising. In the early 20th century, it was a producer-driven market. Producers produced whatever kind of beef they wanted to. But when consumers got more interested in what they were eating, they shaped the industry, and that's why we incorporate new practices into the industry. So first, when we talk about new practices, we talk about feedlots. Feedlots. It's such a controversial issue. But it's such a successful management protocol within the industry. In the early 20th century, it took cattle 5 years to grow to market weight. But when the desire for beef increased, the pressure on producers to create more beef in a shorter amount of time increased too. So that's why we had the feedlot revolution. Now don't think that these cattle spend their whole lives in small pens. They spend 12 to 18 months out on the pasture with their moms, and the last 3 months of their life is spent in feedlots, where they gain between 2.5 to 4 pounds a day. They're being fed a grain ration made up of 70 to 90% grain. In addition to that, farmers are able to walk through those feedlots instead of thousands of acres of land and monitor the health of those animals. So you have a less than a 1.5% death loss. Now, I've been around cattle a long time, and I'm still around them today. They're not that active of animals. They don't run and play and jump and kick and buck, maybe when they first go outside, but all they want to do is eat, lay down, and chew their cud. And feedlots provide 150 square feet per animal, which is more than enough space to accommodate their habits. Now, with the change in feedlots, we have to change the cattle that make up our feedlots. We can't have those slow-growing cattle that we had on the open plains. And they went from draft animals to now meat animals. So we have to change the type of animals that we are producing. When we did that, we see up here in left-hand corner, 1950. This is the progression of an Angus cow. 1950, we had short-bodied, short-legged, extremely fat animals, because that's what the producers were producing. We move into 1960, people were waging war on fat. So Americans were more worried about that fat. So they wanted taller, leaner cows. But they don't realize that when you have no fat or marbling, you have no taste. So now we've kind of met in the middle today, which is obviously the bottom picture, where we have a moderate frame, extremely muscled, and a medium cow that has medium fat composition. In addition to that, I don't know if it was by accident or if it was intentional, but we started crossbreeding animals. And crossbreeding animals has proven to be huge within the industry. As you can see, there's a Hereford on the left, Angus cow on the right. Their babies down here carry traits of both parents, just like some human babies do. Now the benefits of crossbreeding. It's considered hybrid vigor. That's more of a term that we use. But to kind of break that down, it's which crossbreds are more vigorous than purebreds. When you couple that with calf vigor, it increases more calves and weaning weights, meaning they're going to gain more, they're going to grow faster. So what I'm saying is you're going to have more cows and less loss. In addition to that, breed complementary. A weakness of one breed can offset by combining it with another breed that's strong in that trait. It's common sense. So that's what we've done in that industry. Now the crossbreds may not be superior in one trait, but they'll be superior in overall performance. Now, when we breed, when we change the cows that we're breeding, we're also changing how they're being bred. Artificial insemination. The formal definition of that is deliberate placement of a specific semen into the uterus of a female. This practice has proven to be extremely successful within the industry. It originated in Russia in the 1900s and slowly migrated into the United States in the 1930s. Now, there are a lot of advantages when it comes to artificial insemination. First off, you reduce cost. The main thing that artificial insemination does is it provides genetics to farmers that otherwise they would not be able to afford. If you take a very good bull, $35,000 bull, the average person is not going to be able to afford that. But they're going to be able to afford a $15 straw of semen to impregnate their cows with. So it's increasing the quality of the beef that's being produced, ultimately increasing the quality of the beef that you guys are consuming. In addition, it reduces the cost, it increases the reproduction performance because you're monitoring them all the time instead of sending the bull out there and hoping that he does his job. And increased productivity. Now with everything, advantages come with disadvantages. You're going to have an increased management protocol because most ranchers run cattle on hundreds of thousands of acres. The Bundy Ranch right now in the news. Hundreds of thousands of acres, hundreds of thousands of cows. So you're going to have to bring all those cows in so that you're able to interact with them. When you do that, you're going to have an increased investment. You need somewhere to house those animals. So now we come to the hormone usage. It's such a controversial issue. It's almost, we can't talk about it. And we're just talking about it. It's in the news. Now, there are many different kinds of hormones. First off, there's growth hormones, which is the one that's in the news. And there's reproductive hormones. Everybody knows about reproductive hormones. People take them. So today we're going to focus on the promoted hormones. Now, the big idea with this is consumers want a lot of product for a little cost, don't we? We want more for our money. So that's where hormone usage comes in. For example, when you have a bull that's being born, you're going to castrate it because one, it may not be high quality enough for you to breed with it. Two, I don't know if you know, but bulls aren't very nice. They're kind of aggressive. And three, you don't want to be raising that intact bull with a bunch of other market heifers, therefore him breeding the other heifers, then you have a market animal that's pregnant. The public doesn't want that. So, we accommodate his lack of hormones with these growth promotants. These growth promotants are a small pellet. It's implanted into their ear. The part of the cow that we don't eat, we don't use, maybe you feed to your dog when you buy them in the store, but you're not going to eat that part. And they dissolve within 100 to 120 days. They're natural hormones. They're estrogen, they're androgens, they're things that we already have in us. And the biggest thing with this is it's making up for that lack of hormones because they don't have their reproductive parts. Even heifers, even female cows. The older the heifer, the older the woman, or being pregnant, you produce more hormones. That's the same with them. So when you're raising market heifers, market females, they are going to need it too because they just don't have as much of it. Animals grow faster with less food being consumed. Again, coming back to the consumer, they want more for their money. So let's kind of break it down. Are hormones safe? If you think about it, this is way more than it needs to be. Way more than it needs to be. If you see here, an adult woman